In this video, we'll take a look at 10 thoughtfully designed apartments, each with a completely different approach to space, materials, and everyday living. From Japanese-inspired interiors and warm minimalism to bold architectural details and highly personalized layouts, these projects show how even small apartments can feel spacious, functional, and full of character. The interior was designed for a couple who wanted to combine the calm simplicity of Japanese aesthetics with the warmth of Scandinavian style. The result is a restrained, inviting, and natural space, with very little unnecessary decoration, but plenty of attention paid to materials and details. In the living room, the main wall was finished in a soft milky tea tone and paired with dark wood furniture. To keep the darker pieces from feeling too heavy, the designers introduced lighter surfaces, slatted cabinet fronts, and woven rattan. The dark wood gives the room character, while the lighter colors and textured materials make the space feel softer and more welcoming. The TV area was intentionally kept as simple as possible. Instead of creating a large decorative feature wall, the designers added a long floating shelf and built-in storage. A few favorite objects or decorative pieces can be displayed on the shelf, keeping the wall clean and organized without making it feel like an empty gallery backdrop. The home office was separated from the rest of the apartment with glass. This helps preserve the flow of natural light and avoids breaking the apartment into a series of small, enclosed rooms. Sliding doors with fluted glass provide privacy when someone needs to focus on work, while at other times the office can remain visually connected to the rest of the home. The project also had a personal meaning for the designers. The homeowner had previously helped them work on details for other interiors, and this time they had the opportunity to design a home for him and his wife. Even the entryway was planned around the realities of everyday life. There is no need to leave shoes outside or take them off immediately at the front door. Instead, you can step inside first and comfortably change shoes in a dedicated entry area. This apartment was designed for a young couple who currently live on their own but occasionally host friends for a few days. The space therefore had to remain compact and cozy while still being flexible enough to accommodate guests and different everyday routines. One of the apartment's defining features begins right at the entrance. The floor throughout the main living area was slightly raised, while shoes are left on the lower level in the entryway. From there, the rest of the apartment can be used barefoot. A small cabinet for everyday shoes and a bench were also added to make changing footwear more comfortable. In the original layout, a low structural beam ran above the entrance. Instead of simply trying to hide it, the designers turned it into part of the interior by shaping a soft arched opening around it. As a result, moving from the entryway into the living room feels almost like a small ritual of entering the home, and this is where the Japanese influence is especially noticeable. The raised floor also solved several practical problems. It created space to conceal utilities, including the plumbing needed to bring drainage to the kitchen island, where the sink is located. The island also serves as the dining table, while a dedicated niche on the living room side was built specifically for the Xbox. The homeowners use both a projector and a game console frequently, so all of the technology was planned before construction began. The designers determined the screen distance, projector position, outlet locations, and HDMI routing in advance. The projection screen itself was concealed inside a decorative ceiling beam, so when it is not in use, it almost disappears from view. The projector was not simply suspended from the ceiling either. A custom furniture enclosure was designed for it, with the cables and power supply hidden inside. Even the sound openings were planned in advance so the enclosure would not muffle the projector's built-in speakers. Details like these are what allow a technically complex interior to still feel very clean and calm. Because the raised floor reduced the overall ceiling height slightly, the designers avoided using a conventional dropped ceiling. Instead, the lighting was integrated into decorative beams, helping preserve as much visual height as possible. A small workspace was created near the window, while the bedroom door was designed as a concealed door so it would not visually break up the wall. Floor outlets were also added, along with a large dedicated cabinet for tools. One of the most distinctive areas in the apartment is the tatami zone by the window, which also has the best view. On a normal day, it works as a place to relax, but once the curtains are lowered and the folding doors are closed, it can turn into a separate sleeping area within seconds. This means overnight guests do not have to sacrifice comfort. And with a view like this, it would not be surprising if the homeowners occasionally chose to sleep here themselves. The bedroom was also kept as simple and intimate as possible. The bed sits on a raised tatami-style platform and is tucked against 3 walls. A small niche near the headboard provides space for a phone and charging, while soft LED lighting is concealed around the perimeter, replacing bright overhead lighting in the evening. A small walk-in closet was created next to the bedroom. To make room for it, the former dining area and entryway were reduced slightly. An arched opening and a small interior window connect the 2 zones, preventing the closet from feeling completely enclosed or dark. The kitchen uses an L-shaped layout. The cooktop, dishwasher, and washing machine were all integrated into the cabinetry, helping the kitchen feel uncluttered despite its limited size. One wall was also turned into a writable board where the couple can leave messages, draw something, or simply write a quick note to each other. It is a very small detail, but one that makes the carefully designed interior feel more personal and lived in. Even the compact bathroom was designed to use every available inch efficiently. There is no separate utility room, so in addition to the regular bathroom sink, a small utility sink was added for household tasks. Both were built on site and finished in small format tile with softly rounded edges, making them read visually as one continuous composition. Small recessed wall niches provide additional storage without taking up valuable floor space. The main focal point of this apartment is a deep green volume placed right at the center of the space. It does more than simply introduce color, it actually organizes the way the apartment functions. A workspace, storage, circulation paths, and doors to other rooms are all integrated into this central element. From the living room, the green volume almost reads like a small room within the apartment. This gives the interior more depth while also creating a strong visual anchor that ties the entire space together. The entryway was kept as calm and minimal as possible, setting the tone for the rest of the apartment from the moment you walk in, clean, simple, and free of unnecessary visual clutter. In the living room, the interior is built around lightly textured walls, wood flooring, and muted natural tones. The TV wall was designed as one continuous composition, integrating the electronics, storage, and even passageways to other rooms. As a result, doors and functional elements almost disappear from view, making the space feel much cleaner and more organized. The kitchen and dining area continue the same restrained palette. A white countertop is paired with wood cabinetry and gray-green tile. Rounded transitions between surfaces soften the otherwise clean lines of the furniture and subtly separate the kitchen from the rest of the open living area. In natural light, the entire space feels especially light and fresh. The green volume itself sits between the living room and the more private areas of the apartment. On one side, it includes a small place for working, reading, or writing, while on the other it leads toward the bedroom. The walls, ceiling, and doors are all finished in the same deep green color. This keeps an area with multiple openings from feeling visually chaotic. Instead, it reads as one cohesive architectural element. The bathroom continues the overall mood of the apartment, with simple surfaces, subdued colors, and very little unnecessary detail. In the bedroom, the palette becomes even softer. A gray wall behind the bed, light wood, and gentle lighting create a quiet, restful atmosphere. Low storage cabinets were placed along the foot of the bed, keeping most belongings below eye level and preventing the room from feeling crowded. In the end, the entire apartment is built around one strong but restrained idea. The green volume combines multiple functions and helps organize the interior into one clear system. Rather than relying on a large number of decorative details, the character of the space comes from calm colors, clean lines, and a strong sense of order. This two-room apartment was designed for 2 people and a cat. Because the space is relatively small, the goal was not simply to make it look good, but to make sure it would remain comfortable and practical to live in every day, not just right after the renovation, but years later as well. The owners were not interested in forcing the apartment into one specific design style. What mattered much more were good proportions, natural light, smooth transitions between different zones, and an overall sense of openness. Those priorities became the foundation of the entire project. In the living room, the designers deliberately moved away from the standard setup of a sofa, TV, and too much furniture. One of their main goals was to preserve as much ceiling height as possible, so the ceiling was kept close to the original structure. Even the fire safety systems and sprinklers were not completely concealed. Instead, they were simply painted to match the surrounding surfaces so they would attract less attention. This helped keep the space clean and uncluttered without adding complicated ceiling structures. The home office was separated with a glass partition. It creates a clear boundary between work and relaxation without blocking natural light or making the apartment feel smaller. The rounded edges of the partition also soften its overall appearance. As a result, the workspace feels like its own defined zone where you can focus, while still remaining connected to the rest of the apartment. All it takes is a quick glance up, and you are looking back into the main living space rather than sitting inside a small enclosed office. The bedroom is organized around a few simple priorities: quiet, easy circulation, and convenient storage. The same calm color palette and materials continue here from the rest of the apartment, making the transition into the private area feel very natural. Sliding closet doors were chosen so they would not take up extra space when opened. The interior storage layout was also planned during the design stage, allowing clothes and other belongings to be divided into categories with a dedicated place for each one. When the closet doors are closed, all of that storage simply disappears from view. So even if everything inside is not perfectly organized, the bedroom itself can still feel calm and visually clean. In this apartment, the design does not try to dictate exactly how the owners should live. Instead, it gives them room to adapt, to change things over time, respond to new needs, or simply leave the space as it is and enjoy it. That flexibility became one of the central ideas behind the entire project. This apartment was designed for one person, so the designers chose not to force it into the usual layout of a separate living room, bedroom, and home office. Instead, the main zones were opened up to one another, allowing the space to better reflect the owner's actual lifestyle. You can feel that approach right from the entrance. A low cabinet loosely defines the entryway, while the sleeping area begins just a few steps away. As a result, the apartment immediately reads as one open, continuous space without unnecessary hallways or partitions. The kitchen is also left open rather than separated by walls. It becomes a natural part of the main living space, where cooking, relaxing, and working are not confined to separate rooms, but simply flow into one another throughout the day. The workspace was handled with the same simplicity. A desk and floating shelves define the area without turning it into a separate office. It can be used for working, reading, or simply relaxing while still feeling connected to the overall atmosphere of the apartment. The most interesting transformation took place in what used to be the primary bedroom. The room was completely reimagined as a walk-in closet and bathing area. In other words, the largest room in the apartment was dedicated not to a traditional bedroom or living room, but to the owner's personal comfort. The bathtub itself was placed directly beside the window. With natural light filling the space, the area feels more like a private retreat than a conventional bathroom. It becomes a place to slow down, disconnect, and simply spend some time alone. In the end, the apartment does not even have a traditional living room, and that may be the clearest expression of the project's main idea. The space does not try to conform to a standard definition of what a proper home should look like. Instead, it is designed entirely around one person, their habits, and the way they actually want to live. At the heart of this apartment is a very soft form of minimalism, built around creamy tones, warm wood, and calm matte finishes. The designers intentionally kept both the color palette and the decor to a minimum, helping the small space feel lighter and more open. That atmosphere begins right in the entryway. Light cream surfaces are paired with natural wood, while the near absence of unnecessary decoration keeps the compact entrance from feeling visually cluttered. The same palette continues seamlessly into the living room. Large storage units were finished in tones close to the walls, allowing them to visually blend into the interior rather than feel bulky. As a result, even with a significant amount of furniture, the room still maintains a sense of openness. To keep the apartment from feeling too uniform, the designers introduced darker wood details and woven cabinet fronts among the lighter surfaces. These elements add a bit of contrast, texture, and warmth without disrupting the overall sense of calm. This palette works especially well in the dining area. Daylight filters through the blinds, falls softly across the light-colored textiles, and brings out the warm, creamy tones even more. The result is a space that feels light, airy, and very serene. In the end, this interior shows that minimalism does not have to feel cold. Here, simplicity is balanced with warm materials, soft light, and subtle contrasting details, creating an apartment that feels restrained yet still cozy. "3 years ago, the designers completed a home for the older brother, and now the younger brother has come to them as well. This time, the interior is built around a blend of Japanese and Scandinavian aesthetics, plenty of natural light, warm wood, calm colors, and organic textures. Right from the entrance, the space feels softer thanks to the rounded lines of the ceiling and furniture. Concealed LED lighting highlights these curves and creates a gentle glow without harsh contrasts. Next to the entryway, the designers added a glass display cabinet with wooden shelves. The owner uses it to store fragrances and small decorative objects. With integrated lighting, this area immediately catches the eye and gives a subtle glimpse into the owner's personality and tastes from the moment you walk in. In the dining area, the kitchen island became the main feature. It complements the primary kitchen and can be used to make coffee, prep something quickly, or simply provide extra counter space while cooking. The island and dining table were not aligned in one straight line. Instead, they were slightly offset from each other. This makes the space feel less formal and works especially well when friends come over. Some people can sit at the table while others cook or gather around the island nearby. In the living room, narrow textured tile adds another layer of detail. Its surface reacts differently to daylight and evening lighting, so the wall subtly changes its character throughout the day. The light palette and wood finishes visually connect the living and dining areas, while different lighting scenes allow each zone to maintain its own atmosphere. The second bedroom was designed to be as flexible as possible. It includes woven cabinet fronts, open shelving, and a raised tatami area, while still leaving plenty of open space. This allows the room to easily change its function. It can be used for reading or relaxing on a normal day, and when guests arrive, it becomes a full additional bedroom. The primary bedroom feels quieter and more intimate. The walls were finished with textured mineral plaster and paired with wood paneling. This combination adds warmth without overwhelming the room with detail. As a result, the bedroom feels like the calmest part of the home, a place where you can disconnect from everything else at the end of the day. There is also a personal story behind this project. The designers first created a home for the older brother, and a few years later, they designed one for the younger brother. Their preferences were similar, but their lifestyles and the character of the two homes turned out to be quite different. Together, these projects show how, even within the same family, design can adapt to very different people. This apartment was designed for an energetic businesswoman who chose the residential complex primarily for its convenient location and proximity to the subway. But the standard developer layout did not suit her lifestyle very well, so the designers decided to rethink the apartment structure before the renovation even began. The biggest changes started right at the entrance. In the original layout, there was almost no proper space for storing shoes or outerwear. Part of the kitchen area was shifted, allowing the designers to create a dedicated walk-in closet near the entry. This made the entrance much more practical and also brighter, since natural light could now reach it from the adjacent space. Another interesting detail is that there are now two ways to enter the main part of the apartment, directly from the entryway or through the walk-in closet. Both routes wrap around the kitchen island and dining table, making circulation through the apartment feel more fluid and natural. The kitchen was organized very compactly without making it feel cramped. The cooktop, refrigerator, and appliance cabinet were placed along one wall, while the sink and dishwasher were moved into the island. The dining table essentially extends the work area, so while cooking, everything you need is literally just a turn away. In the living room, the designers had to work not only with the layout but also with the ceiling. A large structural beam, the air conditioning system, and other utilities all needed to be concealed without sacrificing too much height. Instead of creating one uniformly low ceiling, they introduced 3 gradual ceiling levels, rising from the entryway through the kitchen to the highest point in the living room. All of these transitions were made smooth and rounded. As a result, what began as a purely technical necessity became one of the apartment's most distinctive design features. As you move into the living room, the flooring changes as well. Tile gives way to a warmer wood floor, while the color palette becomes slightly cooler and fresher. This helps the different parts of the apartment feel distinct while still remaining part of one cohesive interior. Near the window, floor-to-ceiling folding blinds were used. They soften the boundary between the room and the window and create the impression that the space extends farther beyond it, which is especially useful in a small apartment without a full balcony off the living room. The small additional room was also used more efficiently. Since the owner lives alone and only hosts guests occasionally, part of this room was given to the primary bedroom and turned into a walk-in closet. The remaining half was kept as a compact guest room for visiting relatives. Even here, the designers managed to find space for a TV. The cables were routed above the sliding closet doors, allowing the same wall to function as both storage and a media zone. The primary bedroom now has its own walk-in closet, separated from the room by sliding fluted glass doors. They keep the contents partially concealed while still allowing natural light from the window to pass into the closet. The walk-in closet itself was used as efficiently as possible, with cabinetry arranged along 3 sides and a separate area reserved for a vanity. As a result, the bedroom gained not just more storage, but a complete private zone for morning and evening routines. The entire apartment is built around one very practical idea. A small space should not force the owner to constantly adapt to it. Instead, the layout, storage, and circulation were all designed around the way she actually lives. And after a busy workday, the interior is meant to remain a calm place where she can recharge and relax. This project was designed for a young man who wanted an interior that felt bright, elegant, and contemporary at the same time. The foundation is a calm white palette with elements of American classic style, combined with modern materials and a few more expressive accents. In the entryway, beige stone look tile was paired with light decorative wall panels. This keeps the entrance restrained, while still introducing a more refined character from the moment you step inside. In the living room, the white palette was softened with warm, milky-toned decorative plaster. It makes the space feel more inviting and also connects visually with the finishes used near the dining area. The main focal point is the TV wall, finished with a dramatic marble pattern. Instead of using a conventional media console, the designers concealed all of the cables and equipment inside an adjacent cabinet. This keeps the wall as clean as possible and allows the material itself to become the main decorative feature. The kitchen was designed as a continuation of the living and dining areas, using the same light palette and similarly refined materials. Some of the surfaces were clad in the same slab used on the TV wall, visually connecting all 3 zones. The kitchen island became the most striking element in the dining area. It was finished in a decorative stone with a warm golden beige background and a pronounced crystalline pattern. Against the calm, light interior, it almost feels like a piece of jewelry, adding the subtle sense of luxury the owner was looking for. Sliding doors separate the shared living area from the bedrooms. They create a clear boundary between the open space used for entertaining and the more private part of the home. The owner also planned a separate bedroom for his mother, so she would be able to stay nearby in the future if needed. Even the smaller details here were designed around everyday comfort. For example, the lower section of the cabinet beside the bed was left open to function as a bedside shelf, with an outlet placed nearby for a phone or other devices. A low beam above the bed was visually softened with a rounded ceiling detail, preventing it from feeling too heavy over the headboard. The owner's primary bedroom has a completely different mood. A soft light blue tone makes the room feel cooler and calmer, helping separate it from the more active shared areas of the apartment. Another small room was dedicated entirely to a private dressing room. A large mirror was carefully fitted into the corner, while a small ottoman gives the space the feel of a personal fitting room. As a result, it became more than just a place to store clothes. It also serves as a dedicated area for getting ready and personal care. This interior says a lot not only about the owner's taste, but also about his priorities. Alongside the carefully considered aesthetics and attention to detail, space was intentionally reserved for someone close to him. That makes the apartment feel not only beautiful, but deeply personal. This apartment was designed for someone who works in the design field himself. After living and working far from his hometown, the owner finally had a space he could shape entirely around his own needs, not only as a home, but also as a place to work and create. The main idea behind the project was to avoid treating work and everyday life as two completely separate worlds. The 56 square meter apartment became both a home and a working studio. The original two-bedroom layout was completely reworked. The partitions were removed and the apartment was divided into three main zones: a work studio, a living and dining area, and a bedroom. But instead of using conventional walls between them, the designers relied on a raised platform and changes in materials. As a result, each zone has a clear purpose without breaking the apartment into small, isolated rooms. Light can move freely through the space, circulation remains open, and the apartment feels much deeper than its actual size suggests. You can already see how personalized the interior is in the entryway. The owner is passionate about cycling, so one wall was intentionally left open for his bike. Instead of simply being stored away, it becomes part of the interior itself. A simple bench for changing shoes was placed nearby, with a form that slightly recalls outdoor or park furniture. It is a small detail, but it reinforces the cycling theme and gives the entrance a more relaxed character. The entryway floor was finished in a durable mineral-based surface that continues all the way into the work studio. The upper part of the nearby partition was also left open to preserve the flow of light and air. In the workspace, many details are directly connected to the owner's interests. At the center of a large, open shelving unit, for example, the designers created a dedicated space for an electronic piano. The black vertical elements of the shelving echo the keys of the instrument, making the piano feel like an intentional part of the overall composition rather than a separate object. The desk is even more unusual. One of its supports was made from transparent acrylic, creating the impression that one side of the desk is floating in midair. This keeps the raised platform beneath it visually uninterrupted and prevents the furniture from feeling too heavy. As you move toward the living room, even the character of the materials changes. The cooler mineral flooring of the work area gives way to warm wood underfoot. This creates a clear transition between work and relaxation without the need for another wall. At the same time, textured decorative plaster extends across large sections of both the walls and ceiling, creating a quieter and more intimate atmosphere. One of the most distinctive materials in the apartment is a narrow pink and white tile. It appears in the kitchen, the beverage storage area, and even on the wall behind the sofa. By repeating the same material in several different zones, the designers visually connect the apartment as a whole. The TV wall is anchored by a low black stone platform. The same dark material appears again around the sink positioned outside the bathroom, so these contrasting details feel intentional rather than isolated. The dining area is not separated from the living room either. Instead, it simply becomes another part of the open living space, where work, relaxation, music, and everyday routines naturally exist side by side. In the end, this apartment shows that even 56 square meters does not have to be divided into as many separate rooms as possible. Instead, the space was organized around the real life of one person, his work, interests, and daily habits. And that is exactly what makes the apartment feel more personal, open, and free.